Yeah. Because at this point, like their writer's room is essentially 5 guys, including himself. It's him and Gonza and Gordon and Wong and Morgan.
Yeah. And so he said they got really overwhelmed by, like, this was not something they were accustomed to doing. And they got really overwhelmed by trying to balance writing and sort of fulfilling the sort of back end side of it, the promotion side of it. And this was the thing that ended up suffering. But I would argue too, it's a real flimsy premise. Like, to be like, yeah, that face on Mars thing. What if that came down from the sky right now? Come on,
what
man.
If you saw it on the ceiling in your bedroom? Wouldn't that be scary?
Half this episode is like NASA stock footage.
It really is.
But I'm going to tell you right now, here's my theory about why. Because this show does bottle episodes throughout, and it does a lot of them, actually, and they're usually really good. My theory about why this one doesn't work very well, aside from the fact it's just a stupid premise, it really suffers from a lack of Mulder and Scully. Like, they're in it.
Oh my God, yes. They're in it. They're in it. So, okay, the thing that while I was watching this, it dawned on me precisely why I fucking hate this episode. This episode is, all of the dialogue is space jargon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they'll say something like, did you ever see the episode of Trailer Park Boys where they play space?
No, I've only seen a few episodes.
I'm gonna run a clip of it right here because it's very funny.
Well, are you sure we're gonna play space here? Like, this is kind of
Come on, Ricky, look at this. This is awesome. Mission Control, this is Commander Bubbles. I'm getting an MPS warning light on the link monitor control subsystem. I'm requesting reallocation of main ohms firing through the CDS at level 6. Please advise.
Copy that, Commander. Reallocating there, Commander Bubbles.
Try some, Ricky.
Breaker, come in Earth. This is rocket ship 27. Aliens fucked over the carbonator on engine number 4. I'm gonna try to refuculate it and land on Juniper. And hopefully you got some space weed over. How's that, buddy? I don't fucking know.
Ricky, that's not very good. Use space words, real ones, not talking about space weed.
But essentially, like, they find like this just like techie looking stuff and start like pushing buttons, and Bubbles keeps doing that thing where he'll like flip a switch and he'll put the radio on and like put the headphones on, and he'll do the thing where like everything is a 3-letter acronym. And so that's exactly what happens in this episode, where like they'll put their headset on there, they'll look really, really seriously at their monitors, and they'll be like, there's an urgency, but they're using like mission control jargon and 3-letter like TLAs. And then they'll cut to Mulder, who turns to Scully and very quietly explains what it was that they just said.
Oh God. Yeah. Like, he's there to whisper exposition at her.
Yeah.
Throughout
like
the whole thing.
He's got we could call it Mulder-splaining.
Mm-hmm.
But
she does it too, though.
He is working fucking overtime in this episode.
Yeah, the whole the thing that makes this show so charming is, it had some really good writing and all that, but like, it is their dynamic. They carry this show, which is why when Mulder leaves, the show sucks.
Yeah.
But to not have them in this, all you're left with is this kind of dumb premise, a bunch of jargon and stock footage, and some kind of bland, not terribly likable guest stars. And what you're left with is a very tedious episode.
It really is. We get Ed Lauter, who is like a professional, stern, angry guy.
Yeah, don't like him in anything. I don't like him in this, don't like him in anything else.
I love him in Death Wish 3.
Okay.
But yeah, every time I see him, I'm like, it's that guy. Motherfucker. Yeah. He plays a lot of cops and shit. Yeah, he is a very like late 80s, early 90s serious dad, mean dad. Yeah. Authoritarian dad is his lane, I guess. Yeah. And the whole episode hinges on the face on Mars, which was like in the news a bit back then. It was
by news, you mean the Weekly World News.
The Weekly World News, in fact. No. So let's talk about that a little bit. The face on Mars was first captured by the Viking 1 space probe in 1976, and it's in an area of Mars called Cydonia, and it is a very compelling image.
Beautiful Cydonia.
Yep. So the shape of the formation, it's unlike anything else photographed on the planet's surface. The way its shadows land do, in fact, look like a face.
It does.
Space crank Richard Hoagland claims that high-resolution versions of the same landscape also showed pyramid structures. But Hoagland also claims that there are towers on the moon and some kind of a castle structure floating over the surface secured by cables. So
he is obviously an expert.
yeah. A much higher res version of the Cydonia region was taken in 2006 by the ESA's Mars Express satellite, and it does a lot to quell the fire. The shape of the formation is still remarkably symmetrical for a natural formation, but the facial features are now very clearly just a couple of ridges among the lumps of rock.
Yeah, it would be like if I was just like, prove to me right now that the Grand Canyon is not a giant's butthole. You can't do it, can you?
You can't defend it. But it's the subject of a lot of talk. But like you can just look up high res photos, like much more sophisticated like space photography, shows you with like the sun sort of falling on it in different configurations. It's just a weird formation of Earth, though.
And look, dear sweet listener, it is a testament. The fact that he doesn't even believe this is a testament to how shitty the theory is.
Yeah, I got weird ideas about like aliens and UFOs, and I'm gonna tell you right now, there's nothing on fucking Mars.
My last thought about this one that I also think one of the reasons it really suffers is that even when Mulder is in it, everything he does is so out of character. Like, this is a guy who... his character is paranoid and suspicious. That's sort of his default. In this one, the adulation he is heaping on this government official, he is basically just like, hey, sir, can I give you a back rub?
Yeah.
Like, just at every fucking time they interact, he's just like, okay, well, I still think you're the greatest. And then he kisses him on the forehead.
Just,
like, it is so out of character.
Hey, listen, don't let Scully hear me say this, but you're the real hero here.
Yes, he literally says something like that.
Yeah.
God, this episode's terrible.
Would you got any of the press on it?
I do indeed. So the consensus from the Entertainment Weekly. God, what a force Entertainment Weekly was in 1993. Right. The consensus from them was cheesy FX, extensive reliance on stock footage, and a poker-faced Mulder and Scully make for one dead hour. D-.
Yeah.
And this is indeed Chris Carter's least favorite episode.
Damn. I can see that. Oh, let's talk turkey here. Let's get into it.
Okay.
All right. So we open on a news broadcast at the JPL about the Viking.
My note says, girl, the bow on this lady's outfit is out of control.
I know, right? Like business wear in 1993 was something.
It's insane.
So it's about the Viking observer's photographic data about Mars, photos of the presence of water at the poles, and a mysterious formation that appears to be a face. The spokesperson for the JPL, Colonel Belt, is on hand to dismiss the claims that it's some kind of structure on the planet.
And this is what's his face, the guy who you just said his name.
Louder, yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a real rape murder vibe to him.
Right. Later on, at home with a picture of the face, he gets ready to go to bed, but his sleep is disturbed. He dreams about being outside of a space capsule, reporting to mission control that something is coming for him out there in the vacuum.
I would like to point out he is sleeping with his window completely open. Who does that?
What is that? We see that in everything we fucking do.
This is not the 18th century.
Does nobody have a fucking screen in their window?
I do not live on the first floor of my building. I still would not open the window without a screen.
No, it would be Moth City in your place.
Yeah. Or who knows? Who knows what? Burglars?
Right. They came to burgle you.
They flew in with their burglarious tools.
Oh, yeah. So as he wakes, he looks at the ceiling, and that very same face forms on the ceilings and scares the bejesus out of him.
Yeah.
So now at the Space Center at Cape Canaveral, Belt and the mission control oversee a shuttle launch. It's all looking good as the boosters ignite, but at the last second, there's a malfunction and the launch is aborted. Shadows of the Challenger disaster.
Yeah, this one screams Challenger. Even the explanation at the end, I was like, the second we see this part, I was like, oh, this is the Challenger.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, obviously they want you to remember that because it was really what's really kind of hanging in the balance here is the entire American space program. Because in the wake of the Challenger disaster, there was a lot of sort of congressional discussions about sort of funding to NASA. And
Yeah, all because Richard Feynman was like, yeah, so you guys knew about this, I guess, huh?
yeah. The sort of destiny of. You've been listening to a sample of our Patreon exclusive podcast, Do You Think I'm Spooky? For access to all our past premium episodes, go to patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod, where you can subscribe for $5 a month. Your support also gets you access to Radio Free Haddonfield, my bi-weekly DJ show for the weeks when Do You Think I'm Spooky is off. That's an extra episode of content on the weekly from your favorite podcast. We love and appreciate every one of our listeners, and your support makes this whole enterprise worthwhile. Once again, that's patreon.com/bringmetheaxepod. Sign up for the $5 tier today.